It's Off Exit 10, presented by Capital District Sport and Fitness.
We're going. I appreciate you coming on and doing this. I mean, the best part about this, I was just telling you off air, is that we meet so many cool people through the gym. And then we're all just so busy in life. So when you're, talking with people and checking in, it's you and I and like a quick text message or a phone call and an email, and then it's like on to the next thing. So I'm excited to sit down and talk for a little bit longer and learn some more about all the cool stuff that you're doing.
I'm excited to be here.
So we have Cindy Schmehl on tonight, and she's the executive director of To Love a Child. So they're a nonprofit, and step in whenever you want, but they provide humanitarian assistance all over the world, and most of your work is in Africa and work in Haiti, and you've done stuff here in the U.S.
Yeah.
They've provided medical care and education in schools, solar power, created programs for people to have an income and support their family, gardens and other things for sustainable living. And then you were also awarded the 2022 Saratoga County Chamber of Commerce Volunteer Award.
You have done your research.
We looked. I mean, and
we try.
Yeah, and you've done incredible work in the nonprofit and charity world. So, yeah, man, why don't you just tell the people a little bit about when you started To Love a Child and some of the work that you guys have done?
Yeah, well, believe it or not, 20 years ago, my husband and I took a trip to Zimbabwe. And that started because my husband went on a trip to be in a bicycle race, actually in South Africa. And I tagged along, because I wanted to see one of the 7 natural wonders of the world, which was Victoria Falls in Zimbabwe. And I thought this was going to be my first ever and probably my last trip to Africa because it was expensive. And so we were in Victoria Falls, just like every other tourist, just walking down the street. And I met the same man 3 times in one day. And on the 3rd time that I met him, he waited on us in a restaurant, and we were the only ones there, and it was hot, and we needed something cold to drink. And I said, this is the 3rd time I've met you, and I feel like we're meant to talk. So he introduced himself, and he said, well, do you really want to see what life is like behind all this tourism? And I said, yeah, I really do. My husband was completely silent. And so he said, well, I'll pick you up tomorrow morning, and I'll take you to see what life is really like. And so the next morning, he picked us up in kind of a jalopy of a car with 2 other men. And my husband said, I don't think this is a good thing. And I said, no, I think we're meant to do this. So he drove us about 45 miles into the rural area. And my husband is kind of nudging me the whole time, saying, I don't know if this is a good idea. And I said, yeah, I think we're meant to do this. And he took us to this little village called Chikandakubi. And what I saw there absolutely broke my heart. I saw a couple school buildings without roofs, one that had the roof was leaking terribly, school children with ragged and torn clothing, no school books. I saw women laying on grass mats dying from malaria, no medical care, and it just wouldn't leave my mind. And on the plane ride home, I told my husband, I just can't forget this, and I didn't. And so we came home, and of course I had the contact information for this man called Godfrey. And we have been in contact ever since, and he is our program manager right now in Zimbabwe. And we've been working together, and we've accomplished some tremendous things. So this is 20 years ago that we've known each other.
That's amazing.
That's awesome.
Just go there to see the falls and to do a bike ride and look where things end up.
Yeah.
I mean, so many people, Paul, are like, they're all talk.
Yeah.
They just talk. And
No
rarely does that lead to action. And that's what I noticed when we first talked. I was like, Cindy is action-oriented and has done so much. And when was your last trip to Africa?
It was actually in September of 22. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many trips have you done since you met Godfrey 20 years ago?
We basically travel every year. Sometimes we've gone twice a year, except that we did have a gap because of COVID. But every year we go, we take volunteers with us. Between Haiti and Zimbabwe, we have about 130 volunteers that have traveled with us over the years.
Wow, that's impressive. That's
Yeah.
getting that many people to help something like that too is awesome.
Yeah.
How do you even know where to start? Like, were you involved in nonprofit work before this or no?
No, I wasn't. I was a lot younger, of course, but I was wrapped up in, the corporate world and trying to get ahead. And truly, when you see something like what I saw on that first day in Chicantacubi, it changes your whole perspective. And when you start getting involved and you travel back a second time and a third time and you really start helping and you see just how much something so little can change a person's life and bring hope to someone or bring hope to a family or even a whole community, you just get so involved and you just can't stop.
Yeah.
So here I am 20 years later.
It's an addiction.
Yeah,
But a
it
good
really-
one.
A
Very good
great
one.
addiction. And
Yeah.
I want to touch on all the stuff you've done over the years, from the schools to medical care to helping people provide for their family. But on that plane ride back and then you get home, like, how do you start to figure out this is the first thing we need to do there, and then being able to build on that?
It starts with the people there. It starts with the village elders, the village chief. You can't start with something that you want, because if you bring them something that they don't want, it's not going to be embraced and it's not going to work. So you start with what they feel is the most important, what the biggest priority is, and you work with that. So you work with the village elders, you put things into priority, you bring those ideas back, and you start working here with what you can accomplish. And of course, you start first we had to start incorporating, start our actual nonprofit and go through all that, the legal documentation, set up our board of directors and all that. So it takes time, it takes work. And over the years, we've had a lot of different transitions, but, we've worked it out. We continually, the first thing that we do every time we go back to Chicantacubi is we meet with the village elders and the chief. And we say, okay, how are things? How are things progressing? What are our successes? What are the hardships? And we go from there.
Right.
Yeah.
What was your big project this last time when you were there?
Oh, it was very exciting. We built the first rural bakery that is known in the whole district, or maybe the whole rural area of Zimbabwe. It was so exciting. The women baked bread for the very first time. And they baked 50 loaves of bread the very first day. And I wish you could have seen the joy on the women's faces and to smell the bread coming out of that bakery. They were able to sample it and taste it and take home bread for the very first time and share it with their families. And now they're baking the bread weekly, and they're selling it for 50 cents a loaf. The eggs that they incorporate into that bread is from the chicken project that we started several months earlier with other women. And the most important thing is a lot of the projects that we do are all women managed and women run.
That's so cool.
Oh, that's
and
really cool.
So great. I just love how I think one of the tabs on your website was like sustainable development.
Yeah.
And I'm sure all of your projects kind of build on each other. And now you're providing jobs and skills and stuff that still feeds back into the community.
Yeah, it's important.
So you're doing the infrastructure too? Like, are you building the buildings and then getting the kitchen supplies and then?
Yeah. For the most part. We built the structure for the bakery. We purchased the ovens. We brought in a professional baker to train the women, and then they learn the skills and they continue to bake and learn. So it's important. They earn money for themselves, and then they also put the income back into the bakery so they can continue to learn more and bake more. And that project will continue to be successful.
Wow. What other projects have you done like that are sustainable and still feeding into communities and giving people jobs?
Well, of course, we have the chicken project. We have a women and children's center where the women can come for the day. They sew. We have a lot of sewing machines there. They weave baskets. But it's also a place where they can bring the younger children so they can be safe while they're working. We have a men's workshop, which is really exciting. We started that many years ago. So every time we go over, we either bring men's tools with us or we buy tools there, depending on the accessibility of tools there.
Right.
And the men that we bring that volunteer to go with us, we teach them the skills, how to use drills and saws and so on. And they learn. And one of the most successful projects that they do is they make coffins and they sell them. And that's how they earn money for their families and money to be put back into the workshop. This year for Christmas, we bought them a welding machine. So they're learning how to weld right now. And that will come in really handy
Yes.
because we are now building a medical center.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And being able to weld and do all those things, like hands-on things, is going to be huge to be able to build a medical center, like
Yeah.
in that area.
Yeah.
So what's going to be in the medical center? This is just doctors and care and.
Well, when we returned after being away for 3 years because of COVID.
Yeah, how bad did COVID affect them over there? Like, did you stay in touch with Godfrey and other people over there?
Yeah, it was terrible. Not only because of COVID so much, but because there weren't the medical supplies, there wasn't the medication. Clinics were shut down all over. The nearest clinic to Chikandakubi is 25 miles away. So people that were on the antiviral drugs for AIDS,
Right.
they couldn't access them. So people that were on these medications that were keeping them alive for years and years, all of a sudden, all hope was gone.
Right.
And they died. People that were staying alive because they had high blood pressure medication or diabetes medication, all that was gone, so they died.
Right. So it's like, yeah, just the things closing from COVID and then just this trickle effect.
And they couldn't go anywhere to access medication, even if they wanted to.
Right.
So it was a double whammy, triple whammy for them. So they had the highest mortality rate ever for this village.
Jeez.
So when we got there in September, we had our meeting with the village elders, and usually they'll have a couple things on their list, like, could we concentrate on this? Could we concentrate on that? This time, there was only one thing they asked us for, and they said, can you please help us get a medical center? And they gave us all the reasons why. One was the highest mortality rate, which I explained to you. But the other reasons were because now they had women that were giving birth, that needed to give birth, but they had to get into the back of a wooden donkey cart and travel 25 miles to the nearest hospital to give birth. Many of them couldn't make it that far, so they were giving birth in the back of a donkey cart.
Jeez, and I mean, you just think about our life here and the problems the problems we complain about. And I mean, this is this past year. What's like life in a day for a lot of these people in the communities that you're around and that you meet, just to give people who are listening just like a real perspective on.
Well, I'll give you the example of a child. So a young child, a young boy or girl, elementary school, they'll have to get up, and a girl will walk to the well early in the morning to fill a 5-gallon bucket full of water. And then she'll bring it back to the house, and that water will be used to help maybe make something, a porridge for breakfast. It'll be used to take a bath in the morning before they go to school. A young boy will have to take the family goat or the family pig or the family cow down to the river or someplace to have water for the day. The men go out to the fields to work. The women will try to make something for breakfast. This is a very, very poor area where people will earn $1 a day.
Jeez.
So that's what they're living on. So all of the projects that we do really, really do help sustain the family.
Yeah. And then what's the education system like? Because you've done a lot of work. Have you built schools?
The school was already established.
Okay.
However, we have completed the school buildings. We have added additional school buildings. And we started a library many, many years ago. And we had a wonderful surprise when we got there this last September. The teachers told us that Chikandakubi has been given an award of excellence in literacy because of that library and the books. The children have really succeeded and excelled in literacy and reading, and because of that library. And many years, probably 5 years ago, we were able to run electricity from the main highway to the school. And so we just hooked up Wi-Fi now for the school. So now we're opening all kinds of opportunities and doors in education for the school.
That's awesome.
Wow. That's big.
Just think how much we take for granted the fact that we have like Wi-Fi, internet, and all that. It's like they were getting by without that, and still,
Yeah.
being able to learn real life skills and build their community up essentially.
Exactly.
Obviously they got they needed some help with it, but it was like, who doesn't need help in their life?
Yep.
And that's really awesome that they're seeing these positive changes, and now we're going to have access to even more opportunity through stuff like that. So
Exactly. And just think how important that's going to be, because the clinic that we're building it's right next to the school. So when we build the clinic, we'll have a computer there, and nurses will live there full time. It'll be staffed by the Ministry of Health. And so if there's a situation that arises where the nurses can't handle it, they will be able to connect with a hospital that has a doctor.
Right.
And they will be able to, stabilize that patient with the help of a doctor and most likely save that person's life. I mean, this is just incredible what we're going to be able to do in the future.
Yeah, that's unreal. And are all the towns and villages around there like have this level of poverty and
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they do.
So your work's just been in, what's the name of the village again?
This is Chicandacubi,
Okay.
but we also have another village that's about 8.5 hours away from this village.
Were you at both of them this
Yes,
past
we
trip?
were. Yep. And in the other village, we have a slightly different focus. We're starting out at a completely different level. The dream there is to create a school that will incorporate children with challenges, because it seems in that area there are a lot of children that have physical and mental challenges. For some reason, there's a high abundance of them, and we don't know why. So there are some schools there, but nothing close by to this village. Right now, they have to walk several miles to get to school, and the kids with physical challenges don't go to school at all. So we want to build the school, but before we can actually build the school system, it's the classrooms itself, we have to build the infrastructure around it. So we've already drilled 2 wells. We're creating the food forest, which is actually trees that have that produce fruits, and then gardens that produce vegetables. We're creating Dignity House. It's in the final stages of being created. Dignity House is actually bathrooms and a shower. And we call it Dignity House because it's a place where men, women, and children can go, and they can have, it be private, to take care of all their private needs, which doesn't happen right now at all.
Right.
Especially if you have physical challenges, it's very difficult. So we're creating that, and hopefully we'll be able to have some classroom construction, maybe at the end of 23, we're hoping, if we can raise the funds.
How do you find people to build the infrastructure and do the wells and because you guys do solar as well over there, right?
It's in Baringwa, which is the name of the second village. The electricity is nowhere near. So we have to rely on solar there completely, yes. All the wells are pumped by solar. Everything will be operated by solar.
Jeez.
that's wild.
Yeah, that's incredible. It's incredible. You feel safe always when you're there?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
We have 2 incredible project managers and their families, and we just always feel very protected when we're around them. They pick us up at the airport. We travel with them. They're wonderful, very educated, and, we're always very much welcomed and protected in the villages.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have relationships. I mean, going there 20 years.
20 years.
Minus the COVID years.
Yeah. It's just a wonderful experience. The people that go with us, that travel with us, they have developed wonderful relationships, not only with the people there, but with the people that they travel with.
Right. What's like the long-term goal with these villages? Just keep building new infrastructure and schools and educating the kids and...
Yeah. To get them to a point where there can be completely self-sustaining.
Right.
Chicandacubi is, really well on its way. The schools are doing well. I think once we get the medical clinic there, we've got several projects. They're pretty much, village will be pretty much done. Baringwa has a long way to go.
What's the population in these villages?
I would say probably 4,000. But once you have a medical clinic, people do come from the surrounding area because it's so far.
Right.
The nearest medical clinic or hospital is so far away, so it will draw many, many more people.
Right. Yeah, it's wild. What animals have you seen over there? Because Jackson showed me some pictures of. You seen it all?
When you go on safari there, to go to a zoo, and when you come back to go to a zoo, it's just not the same thing. Going on safari is just an incredible experience because you're going with wildlife specialists there, and they can tell you so many wonderful stories. And they're all, and the safari companies really do take care of the environment too. But we've seen everything. We've seen elephants and giraffe and zebra and cougar and lions, and it just we've had experiences where we've stopped to watch lions, and the lions will come and just brush along the truck as we're sitting in it, in open air trucks, safari vehicles.
That's wild.
Yes, incredible,
It's
incredible.
crazy. Do you have those pictures? Do you have the pictures on your phone of how close you actually were?
Oh
Or no?
yeah, I do.
Did you see him, Paul, ever?
I don't know if I've seen him.
It's going to take me a minute to
Oh,
scroll,
to scroll
but
through.
That's all
but
right.
talk a little bit.
Keep,
and I
we'll
can
keep
find
going
them.
to find them. But
Yeah.
it's crazy how close close you were to all those.
I love me some lions, so
And when you get that close to them, the lions look like they have eyeliner, and it's just an incredible experience.
Yeah, that's wild.
And we have to do so much more to protect the wildlife because they're really, some of them are so endangered species. When we went to Zambia on safari there were only 5 white rhino left in the country.
that's insane. Well, that's like you gotta find the balance of building infrastructure and expanding these communities and cities to where they can be self-sustaining without taking away from the natural wildlife that's there and creating disaster for them at the same
Right.
time. Because when you look like here, a lot of animals can't survive here because of all the things that we have, the infrastructures we have, the factories we have, the buildings we have. There's just not the places for them to live.
Right.
I remember when COVID came, I have friends, I was down in the city and I have friends that I went to college with, had never seen like a deer before. I'm like, a deer? That's like the most.
plus
That's like the
one.
most basic animal. I feel like I see that all the time upstate.
You got
And it's
'em?
like
Yeah.
you
Look-
never
look how-
see them.
Look how close he's
Oh my god.
That's wild.
And the reason we go on safari at the very end of every trip, and that's because, we're living with the people in the villages, and we see a lot of very difficult situations. And, as a team, we cry together, we laugh together, and we need the safari as a buffer before we
Right.
come home because we are going from, spending 2 weeks with people who have nothing.
That's a large cat.
And yeah. And then we come home to our homes here and grocery stores that have an abundance of everything. And sometimes it's a very difficult transition.
Yeah, I was about to ask you, how tough is that for you to get that out of your head, or when people complain about nonsense to you? Is that tough coming back here and then adjusting after seeing everything that you just?
It's especially if you're coming back into the Christmas period, it's a very, very tough transition.
Is that what you did this past year? No.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the Christmas decorations are already in the stores and everything. And
Yeah.
yeah, in October. It's very difficult because, you're seeing people that are, eating one meal a day, and that might be a porridge.
Yeah.
And, when they cook for us, they give us what they consider a luxury of their food. So they'll butcher a goat or a cow for us. And they cook it in great big pots on the stove, and they'll say, okay, well, help yourself. So you get a fork or a big spoon, and you reach into the pot, and you pull out meat. Well, you don't know what part of the animal you're eating. And it could be part intestines, it could be anything. And that's a real savory piece of meat
Yeah.
to them. And, sometimes we look at it and say, oh, gosh,
Yeah.
And, they savor every morsel, and that is a luxury to them. And so when we come here and you go into the store, we have, 15 types of lettuce and,
Yeah.
Like, just thinking of that, like 15
Yeah,
types.
you're
There
like-
really
you're
is
like-
like 15
Like,
types
am
of
I
lettuce
gonna,
when you walk
you're like,
in.
am I gonna get the purple Doritos or the blue Doritos? It's like the purple, like no question.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, it's sad. What are the primary like illnesses that people do struggle with and like makes the mortality rate be high over there?
Well, they'll get, well, they don't have, people can't afford medication. So if they have high blood pressure, diabetes, or, high, cardiac issues, they can't afford any of that medication.
Right.
When I was talking about people needing the medical clinic in Chicanacooby, like the elderly, they can't walk, to the medical clinic. It's
Yeah.
25 miles. So they can't even attempt to walk at night because if they walk, they might get attacked by a lion or an elephant.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
something we don't consider.
Yeah, that's no, not at all.
Yeah, I mean that's like when you think
That's like real life.
well, yeah, where you're like that's when we know like way back when we were cave people, that's what we struggled with,
Yeah.
but we don't realize living here in Clifton Park, like people are still dealing with
Yeah.
like those issues.
Mm-hmm.
When we have a toothache, we can go to the dentist. We can, you have a migraine headache. There's a drugstore around every corner. They don't have access to that. They can't afford it.
Right.
So when on every trip, we do clinics, and when people come to it, we give them medicine for free, and they live for that every time we come.
And this is stuff you're shipping over from here?
No, we take everything with us.
Yeah, yeah.
It's too expensive to ship anything.
Right. Right.
And when we go there and we do these clinics, we give them razors. Men, just they light up when we give them a razor. When you think about
Yeah.
it, how many razors do you have? I mean, you guys have beards, but still,
Yeah.
I mean,
still
you
gotta
kind
use
of
one.
you still take it for granted here.
Absolutely.
And some of these guys, they get one razor a year, and that's when we give it to them.
Right.
So, we give them washcloths and soap and, all the basic necessities they get at the clinic. We collect used eyeglasses all year long, and we take the eyeglasses and we have an eyeglass clinic, and people will come and they get fitted to eyeglasses, and they love it because they can finally read their Bible in church.
Right.
You can wake up and see.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I like, just thinking of my friends that have glasses. I've never had glasses. So I remember one day they were like, yeah, when I wake up in the morning, I can't see anything. I was like, wait. I was like, what? You can't see? They're like, yeah, I need glasses for a reason, Paul. Like, I can't, like, see.
Yep.
And, like, thinking of, like, as simple as that with my friend, and then thinking on, like, a bigger level with, like, these people over there, it's like they literally had to live like that because they didn't have access to that kind of stuff. And it's amazing to be able to provide those things and see, like, that you're the first village, because I don't want to butcher the name.
That's okay.
That it's getting to the point that it's getting closer and closer to that self-sustainability, and that, I'm sure you'll still go there and make sure things are going well, but that you won't have to be as hands-on there, hopefully in the closer future.
Yeah.
So it's awesome to see those things.
The sustainability piece is incredible.
Yeah.
Is that something that you saw and thought of early on? Like, if I'm going to do this, I want to make sure it's something that can live on, and it's not just like I'm going to throw money at this and then throw money at that.
No, it wasn't me. It was the village elders.
Right.
They don't want to continually take from someone else. They want to do it themselves. They want to learn, and they want their children to learn. They take pride in learning and take pride in giving back. One day I was in Victoria Falls walking around with our team, and because we'll take them shopping for souvenirs and things like that when we're there too. And I remember we're walking around, and all of a sudden I hear my name, Cindy, Cindy. They have an accent, and I'm looking around like, who could be calling my name? And this young woman runs up to me and she goes, "Do you remember me?" And I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't." She goes, "I used to be a student in Chicanacooby." And I said, "Oh, how nice, And she goes, "I have to tell you," she goes, "because of you, I finished school." And she goes, "I'm a secretary now." And I thought, oh my gosh, what we did in that village made a difference. So she was able to finish elementary school, finish high school, and she got a career.
Yeah, that's incredible.
That's awesome.
That gives me the goosebumps a little bit.
You know, so sometimes you can't measure success right away. It takes time.
Yeah, that's well said. That's with any endeavor.
Yeah,
Right.
just like the library and just like the men's workshop. Prior to COVID, we arrived at the village, and this one man came up to my husband, and he said, he told my husband that because of the skills that he learned in the men's workshop, he got a job at the airport because the airport had a temporary job open because they were doing an addition to the airport, and they hired him for that job. So, yeah, you just never know.
Yeah, it's incredible. Do you have a translator with you when you're there?
No, not anymore, because they speak English now.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because of over all the years now, they've learned to speak English.
So when you first went there, though, did you have to have a
Yes.
translator?
Yes, they didn't speak English.
But then because of the structure you've put in, and that's pretty cool
That's
in itself
awesome.
right there.
Yeah, it is. It's just, it's really awesome.
Well,
you
and
know?
that again opens up them being able to communicate, you know, in English, provides just even more opportunity for them because now you have a different, you know, that's, you know, I don't like to say it, but I mean, it pretty much is like the universe. It's taught in like every country for the most part, or a lot of countries in the most part.
Yeah, it's probably what, English, and then is Mandarin still up there? Probably it's like the most highly
But
spoken
I feel like
languages.
English is probably taught in like most countries as a secondary language.
Yeah.
So like the fact that they have that now and can now use that as a resource, whether they are still in Africa or they somehow are able to, you know, go somewhere else and get an opportunity and then come back or whatever it is, it like just provides even more opportunity. The fact that that's now taught there, whereas before you went there 20 years ago and there was no English or very little if there was any. So it's really awesome to see, you know, again, that the sustainability that you've been able to build there and that is continuing to grow there is really awesome.
Do you talk to kids? Like, do they have hopes to leave there and get jobs here or Europe or go somewhere else, or no?
They have hopes to leave there.
Right.
And I don't think they have an idea of where they would like to go.
Right.
They have the door open. I think years ago, the U.S. probably was first on their list. I don't
Yeah.
know if it is as much anymore.
Do people see? I mean, yeah. Listen, here's crazy now and been crazy for a while. People see that there though.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they go, maybe not so much anymore.
Well, you know, when we first started going there, like many of the men and women, they would sell handicrafts, and they would have a booth, and they'd have to have a license, and the license would have to be displayed on their booth, and they would have to have a name for their booth, and their name would always be after like a sports star or a movie star, like Michael Jordan Booth, or I don't know, I can't remember some of the names, but you know,
Right.
always after something American, right? And so, you know, it was just unbelievable how they held the U.S. and everything U.S. in high self-esteem, you know. And I always said to our team members and, you know, anyone that was traveling with us or what we did was that we always have to put our best foot forward, because everything that we do, everything that we say is looked at, is copied. And I still stick to that, you know.
This episode of Off Exit 10 is brought to you by Drink Alchemy. Fatigue and brain fog affect us all, destroying everything we pursue. Whether as an athlete, artist, creator, or entrepreneur, our mind holds the key to performing optimally. By combining the most potent organic nootropics found in nature, Drink Alchemy delivers sustainable boost to creativity, memory, energy, and focus in one epic beverage. Stop pumping your body full of excessive amounts of caffeine and unknown proprietary blends from other energy drinks, and get clean energy from Drink Alchemy's natural nootropics like lion's mane, L-theanine, and caffeine from green tea. Used by Olympians, D1 athletes, MMA fighters, and entrepreneurs, Drink Alchemy has become a huge part of my daily routine, making sure I'm functioning optimally during long days of coaching athletes, running CDSF, and getting in quality workouts myself. So do yourself a favor and ditch the energy drinks loaded with caffeine, other stimulants, and who knows what else, and head over to drinkalchemy.com today. Live with your mind unbound and save 10% off your order by using code CDSF at checkout. That's drinkalchemy.com, promo code CDSF for 10% off your order today. This episode of Off Exit 10 is brought to you by Anchor and the all-new Anchor Pro, crafted to endure the most high-performance workouts without the high cost and space requirements of a standard cable machine. Named the best portable cable machine by Men's Health Home Gym Awards, Anchor provides the full functionality of a cable machine in one small space-saving unit. Designed with user-friendliness in mind, Anchor can simply be attached to any squat rack or placed on any wall in your home gym using its intuitive sliding track mount. With up to 65 pounds of resistance, Anchor is built for high speed and controlled exercises alike, from cable presses and rows to chops and lifts. The Anchor has been a game changer for us here at CDSF, and now you can enjoy the same professional quality cable machine in your own home gym by heading over to anchortraining.com and using code CDSF10 for 10% off your order today. Get all the benefits of a cable machine without the high cost and installation fees. Enjoy the portable luxury and space-saving performance of Anchor today by going to anchortraining.com and using code CDSF10 at checkout. That's anchortraining.com, promo code CDSF10 for 10% off your order today. Yeah.
You know, we're very careful what we wear, everything that we say and do.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's just interesting. I mean, yeah, all the craziness politically and around our country, and then people there see it and like,
They do.
Maybe that's not where I want to go.
They're very much aware of everything that happens here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And with that said, I mean, listen, there's a ton of underprivileged and, you know, cities and inner cities and poverty here where kids are struggling and they don't get that chance or the opportunity that all of us get just from where we're born and who our parents are and our parents' history and their family's history. How much do you think about that?
We do think about it a lot. And we're you know, To Love a Child is a very small organization. And believe it or not, we have no paid staff here. Everything that we do on this end is volunteer, even myself, even though I'm the director. And we have no paid staff. So this is my full-time job. Yeah. And we don't have, you know, an office other than the back room of my house. So our overhead is very low. So we constantly think about keeping our administrative expenses very low. But anyway, so we have ramped up our local projects a lot. We have a local project called Time to Thrive, and time is spelled THYME because we're focusing on a lot of health and you know, physical and dietary type programs. And Mike, you are involved in some of that.
Yeah, I love it. And and it's great. Yeah, it's just like what we said, kids that don't get the opportunities or don't get the exposure, you know, just because their families don't have money and, you know, they may not have both parents and there may be drug, alcohol issues like around their life. And they don't get exposed to the good role models and being exposed to how to take care of your body and work out and eat well and how to apply yourself in school the correct ways.
Yeah. And we're not only working with kids, but we're working with some adults too. And and this program is important to me for a couple different reasons, not only because of working with people with limited resources, but also people who may have gone through some health issues in their life, like myself, because I'm a cancer survivor, 5 years in remission now from breast cancer. So it's really important to focus on health and man, really embrace all the healthy years that we can. So we are working with some kids locally that have limited resources, and we do a mini camp with them in the spring. We started it last year, and Mike, you were a part of that, and it was really exciting, and it was really successful. So we're doing it again this spring. In fact, we are trying to get some sponsors for this spring because we want to do a chef program again with them. And this year we're going to take them to the zoo in Syracuse so that they can have a really great experience, not only touring the zoo, but we're going to give them 2 really great educational programs at the zoo. And then we're also going to do a 3rd day locally here where they'll learn about animal habitat and then do a program so that they can really work with their own pets and learn how to take care of them just a little bit better.
Yeah, that's great.
That's awesome.
Is that where, I mean, if somebody says, Cindy, you know, you're going to help put together programs throughout the country to help, kids with limited resources and neighborhoods that are underprivileged. Is that where you'd start putting together programs like this that are teaching life skills and exposing them to healthy habits and exercise and things like that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I wish I could go back 10 years in age. I really do. Oh, absolutely. I would love to, exercise with kids more, teach them more healthy habits
Right.
as far as eating and all. Yeah, we've got to get more fresh fruits and vegetables into their diets and just teach them to eat healthier and get that into their regular diets more,
Right.
through the schools and through different programs. Absolutely.
Well, that's one of the things like I've talked about with one of he's a retired teacher, but I've talked to him about how, revamping just the education system, and especially at the elementary level, and how phys ed should be like phys ed and health and nutrition. Like teach them that stuff at a young age so then they can bring that home to parents that maybe don't know that stuff. And now they're understanding like, oh, that's not something I should be eating, or that's not something I should be doing, or I need to go be more physically active. And just teaching them, how to move, how to be active, how to eat well, that kind of stuff. And it's like you're, doing that on your level with the, people that have limited resources. But it's like one of those things like I feel like isn't taught just on a macro level even, in our school system.
Do you feel like schools are missing the boat on a lot of that stuff? I mean, I know some of your grandkids are in here now and you see them going through school. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like, just building those healthy habits and...
Well, I'm really not familiar with the school curriculum as far
Right.
as that, but I just think that sugar is just thrown in our face 24/7.
Oh,
You
yeah, I
can't
mean,
get away from it.
It's marketed at kids. I mean, you look at any probably kids television show and it's probably
Yeah.
soda, sugar drinks, sugary cereals. That's probably all you're seeing.
It's thrown in our face 24/7. I mean, what's interesting is when we were in Zimbabwe, there was no sugar the whole time we were there. And I felt so much better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't have it.
I mean, it definitely has a negative effect on your body.
Oh, it does.
1,000%.
It does. And we've just connected with a local woman who is teaching plant-based eating, and we're going to be hosting a class in April. And she's going to be teaching that. So we're going to be starting those type of classes. We're going to be starting out slow with that because you really can't change people overnight.
No.
So small steps, And so we're hoping that that'll take off. And the classes are going to be free. So hopefully people will connect with us on that. And even if they incorporate just a little bit, a
That's
little
it.
Bit at a time.
If you try to overhaul everything at once,
It's not gonna
done.
work.
It's not going to work at all. I mean, we see it in this setting in here.
Yeah.
I would assume it's the same for the charity work you do. If you try to overhaul everything right away, there's probably more pushback and less chance of success.
Well, it's just like, it's kind of what you said earlier, when you're providing, to the villages over there, there may be something you think they need, but what do they really want from you? So, it's finding that balance of like, okay, I know what it looks like they need, but like, let me make sure I get the right information from them and figure out what they want to help them get to where they need to go. And, it's just the same thing applies with a local thing too. It's like, you got to provide what they want, but also give them what they need at the same time.
Right. And it was very interesting because our project manager was here in November for our annual dinner. And he made a very...
Is this Godfrey, the guy from... Okay.
Yeah. He made a very interesting observation, because I took him all over with me.
Had he been here before?
15 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, we did a number of presentations all over. We went to schools, we went to different organizations and churches and all over. And, I did the normal everyday things that people do. And sometimes we were in a great rush, which is normal for lives here in the U.S., and sometimes we were in a hurry to eat, which is normal for people in the U.S. So he said to me, I have come to one conclusion. He says, you people are lazy. I said, what makes you think we're lazy? He says, because you drive up to get your medication, you drive up to go to the bank, you drive up to get your food, and it's true. We expect everything, very quickly and all that. And then he said, and you're a very wasteful society. He said, the amount of food that is thrown out, in school lunches, when you go to a dinner, like at a banquet or something, the amount of food that's left on plates at these, at a banquet, at a dinner, he says, my village could survive on that.
Yeah, that's perspective right there.
Yeah.
Remember nature's classroom, Paul?
What was it called that we had to?
You had to. There's this thing in like middle school. You went, right, Jordan? But you would have to, after your meals, everybody would they'd put their waste in their food they didn't eat, and probably the same garbage can. But they would weigh it every night.
Yeah.
To be like, hey, look how much you
Look
guys
how much you are wasting.
you all just wasted.
Yeah, there was some questionable things at that camp, but there were some good things too.
Oh yeah, yeah. Real questionable stuff. Do you remember this? Did you do this, Jordan? Cindy, this is insane.
Insane.
We talked about this last week with a girl in the gym. We were in 5th grade. It's in Lake George. And it's supposed to give you just like this, I don't know, this, I guess, holistic experience, like with the food waste, and you do outdoor stuff and camping. But there was one night, and we're a bunch of white kids from Chatham, and they did a like mock underground railroad where they pretended we were slaves and like yelled at you the whole night and took you around in the woods. When we think back, you're like, what the heck did they have us do? Like,
Yeah.
not cool at all.
I don't think that would be allowed today.
Isn't that wild?
Wow.
Yeah. There's no way they still do it.
No.
You can't still do it.
I should ask my niece because they did nature's class.
Did you do that, Jordan?
Yeah.
Yeah, terrible. Jeez.
That's like one of the things I distinctly remember from nature's classroom.
Good for teaching you not to waste food. Bad for running you through a mock underground railroad.
Underground railroad that probably would have been a better way to teach that to us.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, noted. None of that. Jeez, man. Yeah, crazy. And then you've done work. I know we emailed about this and stuff, and we're taking a turn from the Underground
Oh,
Railroad.
that's fine.
But stuff, Haiti. I mean, the gang violence is getting out of control right now.
It is out of control. Very sad.
Because their president was assassinated last summer, a couple summers ago. I remember reading that. Can you just, when's the last time you were there?
What year was it? Time flies with COVID.
Yeah.
It was well before COVID. It's just not safe right now for anyone, even Haitians.
Yeah.
The gangs have pretty much taken over. And there's just desperation, in the country right now. Anyone that wants to read about it can certainly just Google Haiti news,
Right.
and you can read about what's going on.
Are you still in communication with
A number of people.
from over there?
Yeah, and the situation is dire.
How has it gotten so out of control?
Well, basically, government kind of lost control, and the more they lost control, the more the gangs have taken over. The gangs have taken over the roads and, shut down everything. And they started kidnapping, priests and doctors and all that. But it's the violence is just terrible. The stories are horrible. So, food situation is bad. The village that we help is close to the Dominican border. Okay. So they are pretty much violence-free, which is, thank goodness.
Right.
I believe the food that they're getting comes in from the Dominican Republic. But, Port-au-Prince, that area is terrible. That's where the airport is. A lot of supplies usually come in from that area. So those poor folks, they can't even go out of their homes.
Right. And you had done some of the same stuff there that you did in the communities in Africa?
Yeah. So all of our projects there have come to a stop.
Right.
We used to be able to ship barrels to Haiti because it was much closer to the United States.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot ship barrels because we would jeopardize the lives of whoever went to pick them up.
Right.
So basically the only thing that we can do in Haiti right now is keep the teachers employed. We send teacher salaries every month.
It's incredible.
And the kids can go to school, but that's all that we can do.
It's tough. That's got to be hard on you too, especially being able to
knowing people personally.
Knowing people personally and how hands-on you can be in other places, but you can't. You just can't do it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And this isn't the I mean, we haven't intervened as a country, right?
No.
No.
Mm-mm. Yeah, it's really sad. They need all our prayers for sure.
Yeah.
And there's been a cholera outbreak,
Right.
so the situation is
Which
very
is what,
bad.
from water that's not.
Contaminated.
Yeah. Yeah. That's tough.
And food, I've heard stories from people that have contacted me directly. Even if they could get money from Western Union or something like that, they would try to go to Western Union to collect the money, and Western Union wouldn't be open because the people don't feel safe in the Western Union office, the employees. So they would jeopardize their lives to go get the money. They can't get the money. They would go out to try to buy food on the street, but yet, their lives are in jeopardy. So it's a no-win situation, no matter what you try to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, as bad as you think you may have things here, things are okay.
Yeah.
Things are okay. And our what did Guyver say? Our rushed and lazy and wastefulness. That's hard with kids because
It
they
is.
want. I feel like every generation, it just wants everything that much quicker.
Yeah.
Instant gratification, all the instant everything. Everything quick. Like they want everything quick and they want it now. And unfortunately, and just through, your projects and everything, things take time.
And they do.
You would love to be able to just plop a city down there so that they could be self-sustaining, but you can't just do that. You got to teach them. You got to educate them. You got to help provide for them, and then over time they'll learn to do those things themselves and whatnot. Whereas like right now, everything, especially here, you got your phone right there. It's like, oh, let me go here. I can get like a like and make me feel better right now, or I can, and it's all right.
We
like
just
that.
we just last week had to make a rule in the gym. No phones on the gym floor, because kids would grab them, and then their brain just goes into like whatever mode it goes into when they have their phone, and they can't get off it.
Yeah. And then and then all of a sudden 30 minutes has gone by and I'm like, dude, what have you been doing for 30 minutes? And it's like, when you come in here, it's not just because we want to punish a kid for having their phone. It's more like, I want you to disconnect. I want you to just be here, be in the moment, be yourself, and enjoy working on something that's going to help you get better, both physically and mentally.
Sure.
And obviously if like they got something, a phone call they're waiting for or something, like, yeah, we're going to tell them you can have your phone with you. But like in the grand scheme, when you're working out, do you really need your phone on you? When you're doing something for yourself, if you're reading, are you going to, unless it's on your phone, you don't really need your phone with you, Those type of things that are all like working on yourself, work on yourself. Don't get distracted by all the outside noise. And it's tough for kids, so.
Yeah. That it is. How many people do you take with you every trip when you go to Africa?
We take small teams. Usually, we've had as few as 2, but we usually like maybe 4 to 6 people max.
And then when you're there, I guess just explain to people what the day-to-day is like what each person is doing and how you're kind of working together to do these things.
Well, we love to work with the expertise that our team members have.
Right.
If we have a nurse, oh my gosh, that would be wonderful because we love to have her work in the
Are
clinic.
you seeking out specific people for specific reasons to go with you?
We would love to,
Yeah.
but sometimes that doesn't happen.
Right.
But we have anyone who's interested in traveling with us, we actually have them fill out a form. It's called a global volunteer form. So we learn about their hobbies and interests and their experience. And then I look at that and I see how that fits into our programs. On our last trip, we had a lovely woman who actually wrote a children's book. And I said, oh my gosh, how wonderful that is. So I bought several books and she shared those books with elementary kids there, and they thought that was just wonderful. We had someone who was a massage therapist, so that worked out really well in our clinic. So those are just examples. My husband, he has a lot of expertise with solar, so he's always really handy on the trips, working with the guys and those projects. So we try to fit in every volunteer as best as possible. Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible. It's just crazy to think what started as just a trip for your husband to do a cycling race.
Yeah.
Look what it's turned into.
I know. It's all fate.
Yeah.
Well, like you said, you ran into Godfrey 3 times. 3 times. And so you knew at that 3rd time that, all right, I got to talk to this guy.
Exactly.
And there's got to be some reason why I keep seeing him.
Right.
So.
And Muno, who was the second project manager, that was fate also how we met. because we were supposed to host a dinner party for some international guests that were here in Albany. And there were several host families. And I got a call that said one of the host families was ill. Could I host just one more guest at my table? And I said, sure, why not? And so I went to pick him up, and I said, and we introduced ourselves. And I said, oh, well, where are you from? He said, well, I'm from Zimbabwe. And I said, oh, that's interesting. So we started talking, and he turned out to be our second project manager.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's incredible. Just the sustainability that you created and are going to continue to create.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's still a lot of work to do, and I just encourage people to, whether it's, I would love to have people, contact To Love a Child and see if they could get involved, but just as long as anyone just puts their best foot forward wherever their heart takes them, locally or in any realm, just as long as they just try to help somewhere,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a good motto to follow right there. It's like just do something to help somebody, and like you said, follow your heart with that too.
Yeah.
So,
and get kids involved as early as possible to show
100%.
them just how lucky they are to have what they have.
Yeah.
I mean, even as far as getting involved in sports, because there's so many kids that don't even have a ball or, sneakers.
yeah. Well, and even thinking of getting kids involved in like helping, I saw one of my friends, she posted a picture of her like nephews, and they're like 6 and 7 years old, and they're out there helping all the neighbors shovel their driveways. And it's like just little things like that. Like, you're helping out somebody that maybe it's an elderly woman that can't do it, or an elderly man that can't do it. And, somebody else who usually comes and do it. If you can get it done for them, then they don't have to call somebody. That, that's one more person you helped. And you did it out of the kindness of your heart, and you did it the right way. And it's, even little things like that can go a long way to teach kids like how they can help people in the smallest of ways.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah. If people want to find To Love a Child and Time to Thrive and just learn more, or like reach out because they have questions or interested in helping, where are they finding you?
Well, certainly they can find me through you.
Yes, yes.
But we do have a website. It's toloveachild.net. And it's To Love a Child, not Love a Child, because there's another organization down in Florida that's completely different. That's the easiest way. It's toloveachild.net.
Yeah.
Two as in T-O.
Yes, that's right.
And then Time to Thrive is your local efforts and
it's
organization.
it's connected with To Love a Child.
Okay,
yeah.
so it's all on
It's
the
just
same.
a program
Okay.
of To Love a Child. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. I love how action-oriented you are and the work you've done. And
Keep trying.
yeah, I appreciate you coming on and doing this. This is a blast.
Yeah, it's really fun. It's we're still just keep growing,
Yeah.
You never know what the next step is going to be.
Exactly. You never know what person might fall into your lap fatefully, and you're like, oh, you're my next project manager.
Yeah.
You never know.
You never know.
Yeah.
So-
You just keep helping people and being nice to people and making little steps every day.
Yep.
They add up. So,
That's right.
Cindy, appreciate you coming on. This is a
Thank
blast.
you so much. It's been so much fun.
Of course.
No
Of course.
problem. So,
Thanks.
thanks, Cindy. We'll see everybody next time.
Okay,
Thank you.
take care. Bye.